All right. Here we are again for another episode of Nine Mind Radio. I want to say peace, Hotep, Rahubat, and Black Power to everyone listening. I just wanted to give a brief assessment, a critical assessment, honestly, on Obama because I see that, us as Black people, we have an emotional attachment to Barack Hussein Obama as opposed to letting go of emotion and thinking critically. We're not very good at that. We've been conditioned to not be. And so when we talk about how will he be remembered and things like that, it's very difficult to get our people to see things from a factual perspective as opposed to, well, first Black president, we had, we loved Michelle Obama, we loved his children, they look so beautiful. Notice that whenever you talk to Black people about Barack Obama, that's the only thing that they want to talk about. They don't talk about what he did. Or let's just say someone says something like, what did he do for Black people? And rather than you ask that question to someone, and rather than them just give facts to what he did, they just say, well, he had his hands tied. It's like a bunch of, we start reaching for different excuses to protect him. And it's very funny because these are the same people who vote in a political process every time, every year that it's around, every 4 years that it's around, we're being told who we should vote for. And when it came time to a Black president, it was a no-brainer. But what's funny to me is that we always talk about being critical of the society and how it treated us or how it treats us to this day, a system of white supremacy. But when it comes time to actually being honest with ourselves of what's been going on for the past 8 years, we're very silent. And it's funny because Umar Johnson said something very, very deep. This is back in, I think it had to have been 2014. This was on Hidden Coast 3 when he said that there was been more problems. Black people have faced more problems in the Obama administration for 8 years than in any other prior president, even to George W. Bush and Bill Clinton. And that was a critical, honest statement because he didn't even go foreign. He went domestic, where we're dealing with mass shootings of Black people in the streets every single day. And while he was in office, because now, he's out of office now and Trump is in, he didn't do anything. So now, but the thing is that what we'll do is we'll point to the pardons that he's giving out as if that's actually doing something, which it really wasn't doing anything at all, because if you read the book, The New Jim Crow by Michelle Alexander, you find out that he pushed mandatory sentencing even higher, further, because each president that's come from, let's say, Richard Nixon, where the war on drugs started, then you came in with Reagan, who took it to the next level by basically combining forces with Oliver North and implanting drugs in the Black community. Then you go into Clinton, where he, brought in the three-strike rule, which massively incarcerated millions of Black men, when it went into a horrendous number of 50% of Black men now in prison, as opposed to being with their families. And all Obama did was basically continue the same process, the same pattern. Our people have to understand is that all he really did was continue a specific type of policy. That policy has been in place for the past 100 years, actually since Teddy Roosevelt, was called containment. And it really began to really take shape when, in actuality, when FDR, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, came in and it became what's known as containment. Every other president and their staff and everybody under them, they continue and they push the policy of containment on the people. And again, in 1927, the Rockefellers and Rothschilds and other wealthy families bought the United States and made it into a corporation, bought it for cheap. So when you have what you would call a executive chief of staff or a president of the United States, which is really a corporation, all they're doing is extending a policy. They're extending a policy, a world policy that we call containment. Now, it may not be called containment to this day. It's going to be something. It may be called something totally different now, but it's the same policy. Now, before I even go into AFRICOM, let's just be critical. Let's just be honest. We could start when he first got in office. The thing that he wanted to end was Guantanamo Bay, which he never did. That's honest. Didn't do that. Now, when Obamacare came in, which is what was a positive look for him in terms of accomplishment for the poor, because, again, it was not something specifically for black people, yet every other president that was white did something specifically for white people. But if you're looking at what people call Obamacare, which is really called the Affordable Care Act, that's being repealed now by the Trump administration. They're trying to get rid of that as we speak. But just having it right now, it does pretty much nothing for you in health care. It's just very little. You can barely get any forms of doctors, any forms of real health care. It's just something as a default. Okay? Let's go to Baltimore when Freddie Gray was killed, and our people began an uprise in Baltimore. He called the children thugs. Yeah, I realized D.C. is 40 miles away from Baltimore. You mean to tell me you couldn't come there and show your face and at least give some form of inspiration to the people? You see, what we'll do as a people, as black people, we will hide, we'll try to cover all the inconsistencies of Barack Obama by just constantly focusing on other things. Oh, man, Michelle Obama was so beautiful. Oh, man, your children are so beautiful. Man, Barack Obama's handsome. He's a handsome black man. You know, all this stuff that has nothing to do with productivity. And then when someone wants to point out the non-productivity in terms of how he dealt with our people, people get mad and don't want to talk to you anymore because we're stuck with emotionalism. Black people are stuck under emotionalism as opposed to being honest with ourselves and how he dealt with us. He completely alienated himself from the black community. I mean, aside from him being Sigma Pi Phi, which is Boule, the black elite, he did absolutely nothing for the people. Even the Mike Brown situation, a lot of people thought that he would come out and, helicopter himself out there. And he didn't do that either. People are afraid of being critical. Again, we are a race that is afraid of being critical because in order for you to move on, you have to be critical of your current state. You can't jump over it because you're going to carry the same baggage to the next level. So if I'm looking at each shooting, when it came down to, let's say, for example, Tamir Rice, and it was like, hey, that would have been my son. So he says that. These are all political moves by such. It's good, these are all political ploys by Barack Obama. He knows what he has to say to keep black people on his side, so to speak, to get them to run behind him. Because, he loses black people. He loses the majority of people who voted for him. Now, we can go, and let's just go back to who he did things for specifically. Now, he did things for the Latino community, which was under Eva Longoria. He did things for the gay community, homosexuals. many others. I'm just naming two that I know about. We know about specifically, but he did not do anything for the black community. Now, some people might blame that on the fact that black people they don't even know what to call themselves, and a lot of times they just continue to keep falling under these civil rights banner. But when it comes time to actually being honest and saying I'm black or whatever, or claiming a specific nationality, we don't want to do that. So then some people will like, well, you just blaming Obama for you not being able to do such and such. And you're saying, no, that's not the case. We're just being honest with what didn't happen. Why is it that he was able to do things for these groups but not his own, if he considers himself to be black? At certain times, we wanted him to say he's a black man, but and he did at times, because then, he knows at the same time, I know what to say to keep these people under me, to keep these people following me. And so that's again, still a political ploy. You were still, as a race, being played by this man. This is total honesty. And so let's just go to, let's say, AFRICOM, because AFRICOM and Syria are very well connected, because you can go back to Gaddafi, and Gaddafi was eliminated on Obama's watch. But yet Gaddafi was opposed to AFRICOM. And just to give you a definition of what AFRICOM is, the word is of course Africa, and com, which is commander. There's not a .com. It's command. It's the U.S. military's command of Africa, and what they would call the war on terror in Africa. Specific forces that try to come in and control the people of places like, let's say, Nigeria and parts of Ghana and parts of the Congo. But in reality, what it really is another form of containment in Africa to continue its pipeline of oil in Africa. That's all it is. All AFRICOM was a cover-up, because remember, the African Union was opposed to AFRICOM. The main people who was over the African Union was Muammar Gaddafi, the main person, really. To others, but the main mainstream individual was Muammar Gaddafi, and he was one that was like, no, we need to keep U.S. and the Europeans out of our continent, because the longer that they're in the continent, the resources that's supposed to belong to us will be taken out. And that's the thing. AFRICOM, the whole point of it is literally to basically create bases. Now, Obama lied himself to say that there's only one U.S. military base in all of Africa, and that was a flat-out lie. There's several military bases in Africa. You got, again, Nigeria, Congo, and Ghana. I'm just naming three. But when you go further, just pay attention and do your own research yourself. I'm getting this from www.blackAgendaReport.com/category/Africa/AFRICOM. And you have to realize is that AFRICOM's main point of going over there was to sabotage any form of African Union that would be able to get all the countries together to control the resources, so that, our brother Akon wouldn't even have to do what he's doing in terms of solar power in Senegal. It would be no reason to do so, because they will already have control of the resources in that area. In every part of the country, everyone will be able to have better access to resources, whereas now, because AFRICOM is controlling certain areas, many bases in our continent, that the people who are indigenous to that area, the true Africans, are not having the access to the resources that they're sitting on. The people who have the access to the resources is America and certain European forces. And this is under Obama's watch, and this is something that he pushed for several years. So I'm just going to go and read something to you just to give you further information. This comes from the website. Excuse me. www.pambazooka.org/governance/Obama moves ahead AFRICOM. And I'm just going to read at least 3 paragraphs here just to give you confirmation of what I'm talking about in terms of Obama's push of AFRICOM in Africa. This is from David Vollman. This is from December 10th, 2009. Concerned over the supply of oil to the U.S. and the supposed need to continue the global war on terror, President Barack Obama has essentially maintained a militarized approach to Africa that was the hallmark of his immediate predecessors, George W. Bush and Bill Clinton, writes David Vollman. The escalation of AFRICOM, United States African Command, activities, argues Vollman, underlines a troubling commitment to an approach based on might and dominance, one entirely at the expense of promoting sustainable economic development and democracy. In his July 11, 2009 speech in Accra, Ghana, U.S. President Barack Obama declared America has a responsibility to advance this vision, not just with words, but with support that strengthens African capacity. When there is genocide in Darfur or terrorists in Somalia, these are not simply African problems. They are global security challenges. Now, again, just pausing right here. This is that statement alone is coded to say, okay, this is a foreign policy to come into Africa and get into their business that America created, and to try to do whatever we can to help them from a problem that we created. Now continue. And logistical support, and will stand behind efforts to hold war criminals accountable. Our Africa Command is focused not on establishing a foothold in the continent, but on confronting these common challenges to advance the security of America, Africa, and the world. And yet, all the available evidence demonstrates that he is determined to continue the expansion of U.S. military activity on the continent, initiated by President Bill Clinton in the late 90s and dramatically escalated by President George W. Bush from 2001 to 2009. While many expected the Obama administration to adopt a security policy toward Africa that would be far less militaristic and unilateral than pursued by his predecessor, the facts show that he is in fact essentially following the same policy that has guided U.S. military involvement in Africa for more than a decade. The clearest indication of President Obama's intention for AFRICOM, again, United States African Command, and for America's military involvement in Africa is provided by the budget request for the 2010 financial year submitted by the Department of States and Defense to Congress in May 2009. The State Department budget request, which includes funding for all U.S. arms sales, military training, and other security assistance programs, proposes major increase in funding for U.S. arms sales to a number of African countries through the Foreign Military Financial FMF program. The budget proposes to increase FMF funding for sub-Saharan African countries more than 300%, from just over 8.2 million to more than 25.5 million, with additional increases in funding from Maghrebi countries. Major recipient states slated for increases include Chad, which is U.S. dollars of 500,000, the Democratic Republic of Congo, 2.5 million, Djibouti, 2.5 million, Ethiopia, 3 million, Kenya, 1 million, Liberia, 9 million, Morocco, 9 million, Nigeria, 1.4 million, South Africa, 800,000, and the Africa Regional Program, 2.8 million. And last paragraph, the same trend is evident in the Obama administration request for funding for the International Military Education and Training IMET program. The budget request for the IMET program proposes to increase funding for African countries by nearly 17%, from just under 14 million to more than 16 million, with additional increases for Maghrebi countries. Major recipients slated for increases include Algeria, which is 950,000, Chad, which is 400,000, Democratic Republic of Congo, which is 500,000. Now, again, every country that I'm going to name has AFRICOM bases in it. Djibouti with 350,000, Ethiopia, which is 775,000, Equatorial Guinea, which is 40,000, Ghana, which is 850,000, Liberia, which is 525,000, Libya, which is 250,000, Mali, which is 350,000, Morocco, which is 1.9 million, and Nigeria, which is 250,000. Nigeria, which is 1.1 million, Rwanda, which is 500,000, Senegal, which is 1.1 million, South Africa, which is 900,000, and Uganda, which is 550,000. I'm going to stop there in terms of quoting from the website. And again, if people want to read further on his involvement, specific source, which is www.pambazooka.org/governance/Obama moves ahead AFRICOM. And there's further information about what he's done in terms of AFRICOM. That's his policy. The main thing is funny that while in office, and it's funny, all he did really now was basically pass the baton off to Trump and his administration to further bomb Syria, because the week after, and I've seen this myself, the week after Trump was elected, the next thing you know, you see on the screen, whether it be CNN or wherever, Trump intends to invade Syria. And everybody was like, wait, what's going on? It's like, oh, he did, again, all these officers that you call presidents are doing nothing but coming in and basically continuing the same legacy that was already put in place prior. So when you're looking at Barack, all he did again was continue the legacy that was already here. You know, it was already set in place. And AFRICOM was like one of the greatest things that he was a part of in terms of the destruction of the African continent and its resources, that you have to have military bases all over a continent that didn't even need U.S. involvement. But these are the things that we as black people don't pay attention to, because what's funny is these same black people, our people, will say that they're African, but you can't be totally African when you're with a president that was against the freedom of Africa. You know what I'm saying? You can't be a true superpower and you're allowing the continent with the world's resources in it to be totally free. So again, I totally understand what he was doing. I totally get it. What we have to do as a people is start seeing it for what it is, as opposed to what we're used to doing is making things appear to ourselves what we want them to be. And it's funny because when Gaddafi was executed, I'm not trying to lobby for Gaddafi to be the greatest man ever, because he did some bad things as well. He had a lot of people killed, but he himself was trying to create something as the African Union that was going to allow us to have access to our own resources as African people. All we had to do as African Americans was to join forces with those who we have direct connect bloodline, because 69% of us, if you do your own research in terms of your genetic makeup, are coming from Nigeria. And a lot of us also coming from the Congo and also from Ghana as well. We can at least link up with any one of those groups genetically if we chose to. But what we have to do now is that we have to be able to see that all he did was literally contain a country or the world from the world policy of being a superpower over everyone else, and just continue a policy of containment, which may be a whole different name to this day, of containing the world, other world governments, whether it be Russia, whether it be Puerto Rico, South America, South Korea, places like this, where these people have more of a social and communistic society as opposed to what's in America, which is a democracy, which is just the 51% over the 49%, but yet over all of them, it's still the 1% that's still the Council of Foreign Relations that's still controlling the Trilateral Commission that Obama and the Clintons and the Bushes are still a part of. So we have to be critical. That's why I say we have to start thinking critical and be a lot more analytical about the works of this man, because he was not for us. Truthfully, that was their hand-picked Negro to be able to further sedate the black race. And now we're standing around with an empty look on our face. Like, my question was, after a while, what did we really expect of him? You know, that was their key Negro to, again, further put us to sleep while they continue further black genocide, while he calls you a thug and all types of things that you probably have never heard of. But that's just a reality. That's why I want people to be able to look back at the 8 years with an honest perspective. This was not to sway you any form, but at the same time, do your research and find out his dealings in your mother continent. Do not say you are African and you are for the freedom of African people if you continue to champion a man that is for the destruction of African people and the raping of the resources to this day. Don't tell me that you hate Hillary Clinton and the Clintons and everything like that when he has great relationships with the Clintons, because they're both in the same group, the Trilateral Commission. So let's just be honest, as well as the Bushes. You thought, oh man, he don't like George Bush. I'm like, they always are doing things together. This is all a part of the same group. And my point is that none of these policyholders that you call presidents are against anything. They create that type of perception to you. So I'm speaking to black people. I'm not speaking to nobody else. But to us, we get this perception. That's why even to, this year, we went default-wise to Hillary, even though a lot of what she was putting together in terms of policies was further mass incarcerating black people and furthering black genocide, with the Clintons going into Haiti and not even creating any form of aid for Haiti, but raping more of the resources from Haiti and the money and taking more African body parts out of Haiti. So again, going back to Obama, this is my closing statement, is that's why I've made this quick. I'm just going to put out the facts for you to do your research on the man you call Barack Hussein Obama, your president. Stop falling for the okie doke. The biggest thing that we do is we fall for the game. Every time you see him on television with his wife, even last night with the farewell speech, every status on social media from black people was how much that we're going to miss him. Oh man, I wish he was staying another 4 years. That means you want to be asleep another 4 years, as opposed to seeing him for what he really is, a policy holder over containment, over the world, and constantly taking resources out of Africa, not caring for black people at all. You understand? So we have to start getting to a point where, again, this is all done. It is what it is. The Negro's out of office. He's buck danced his way on out, and we have to start doing for self at this point. Still pay attention to politics. At this point, it really doesn't make much sense to even vote for anything at this point, because you see it for what it is. You should be able to see it for what it is, but still pay attention to be able to look at things like CNN and Headline News and CNBC and Bloomberg, all these things, be able to look at them from more of a third eye perspective to be able to decipher what they're doing in terms of the world population and all these things, because they allowed you to get sleep when Obama was in, because they knew what you wanted to see. You know what I'm saying? The elites knew what black people wanted to see. They knew black people wanted to come up and be under a man and a woman that they deemed to be the perfect Negroes, because black people as a whole are unsatisfied with their lives. So at the end of the day, when you see someone who is in a top position in the House, you would call it the White House, we love to see that because we still subconsciously are slaves because we continue to see them in a place or a position of where we want to be in terms of society. There's no black liberation in that. There's no Pan-Africanism in that. There's no red, black, and green in that. There's I want to be further up under my massa. That's what Obama was. Someone who was further up under the massa, but just in a second floor compartment that is called the Sigma Pi Phi level or Boule level, and also the Trilateral Commission. But all this is under the CFR, Council of Foreign Relations. He was their key Negro to continue to keep Africans in America asleep while he continues the policy of raping the resources in the continent of Africa. That's why I say you must start being critical of the things and stop being over emotional and holding on and clinging on to certain things that have nothing to do with factual information. You understand? So, no, I was quick, but I just wanted to really be honest with what's really going on because we got to move forward as African people and start really making changes for ourselves without the aid of politics, but still pay attention to what's going on because it still affects you. So I'll be going into the chat room now to answer any questions or if anyone has any statements as well. 1 second, family. One second. Does anyone have any questions?
Ravat, Ali Islam the Pharaoh, Chami's mate.
Say it again?
Chami's mate.
Oh, yeah, how you doing?
It was a great class. I caught it a little bit late, but I didn't get the websites down. That's the only thing. You was mentioning the websites where we can go to what you was reading off of?
Yeah, it's called www. Pambazooka.
Okay.
PAMBAZ UKA.
Okay.
And then .org.
Okay.
And then you put slash, you put governance /Obama dash moves dash ahead dash AFRICOM. And you can also actually that's if you just put in Obama AFRICOM, it's going to give you several websites with a lot of facts, of a lot of information that he's been doing since 2008 in the African continent. But this was that pambazooka.org website. It gives you numbers.
Oh.
The numbers that they give you is I'm talking about when I say numbers, I mean actual military aid to further the bases in Africa.
So what is it with Obama, since he's half of, his father's from Kenya, and is he just one of them, I know, is he related? I know the presidents are all related, so he's just F Africa, Nubians, us completely, what is it? What is it with Obama? Because he has the Nubian wife, and he's is he just against the Nubian race completely? Is this what you're saying? Is he doesn't care too much about us at all?
Never really for us. I mean, by his works, he was never really for us in the first place. I mean, if you are truly for, it's like when I mentioned Akon. It's like Akon literally is trying to find a way to find a natural resource for his own country.
Yeah.
I mean, and trying to convince Africans here in America that we not wanted here. We need to go there. That's an African person. Obama never did anything like that. Obama did the total opposite. So you can have a black wife all day with black kids and still be totally against black people.
Yeah.
So you have board members that aided in black genocide, and they had black wives all day.
Yeah. Is it because he's mixed, or no? That doesn't have nothing to do with it?
It has nothing to do with it at all. You can be as dark as John Lewis that is sitting up here with these. As you can turn to CNN right now, and him and with John Lewis and the rest of these Negroes, even Sylvester Turner's on television sitting up there. These Democratic Negroes fighting, trying to find a way to fight Trump in some form. I'm like, you don't realize that Trump is over you Negroes, and they could be as dark as them. You know, John Lewis is dark. You got the rest of them dark with a dark wife. Ain't got nothing to do with being mixed at all. It's the fact that they're just continuing a policy. Even John Lewis, as a Democrat, that he was a part of the civil rights movement with Dr. King. He himself is also a part of the same plan, because you can't be not a part of the plan, but you're still on the Senate. You're still a part of the connection. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's the reality. I think the biggest thing was just acceptance. Part of it is blacks refuse to accept what's going on, as opposed to, but not so much what's going on, but what happened, what just happened. Like, it's a what just happened here thing. He came in, did what he did, and he did it. And that's why it was funny to watch our people beg for 4 more years out of fear for Trump.
Exactly. I didn't know all that stuff about Obama, too, like all that. You always see him, like, they put all the memes with him singing and joking and with his wife, and so he's supposed to be like this cool president, and it's just like, you're totally against us, really. You never...
Yeah.
Or, anyway,
totally.
He's just keeping up with the agenda. Yeah, that's, like, crazy. But my thing is this, what do they have? What is it, money? Is it like some kind of pardon? Do their children get wealth where, like by them going along with the agenda? Like, it's like, okay, you can mess with those black people, but you won't mess with, like, his daughters and his wife or something like that and their children? Is it, like, is there some,
well,
like, what are they getting out of it?
Well, once he became president, he himself and his family were protected. But it's, he was, of course. Him and his family were protected, so he's automatically in a certain order. When you're part of the Trilateral Commission, you're part of a certain order that you're forever a part of. It's like the CIA. Once you're in, they own you for life. It's not, you can't just get in and leave when you want. He has protection, and not just from them. He has protection from the Boule Society as well. So he's protected on a lot of different secret societies. It's just once he gets in, then he has shared wealth. This is say you talked about money. He now has shared wealth of resources out of Africa. Because he furthered the agenda of AFRICOM in Africa as an African person. So the Africans hate Obama more than you think they do. Most of us get this perception that, oh, man, they like Obama because he's Kenyan. They can't stand him because he took out a key member, which I keep mentioning, Gaddafi, that was going to allow resources to be shared amongst African indigenous people in the continent, not American forces coming in, furthering the pipeline of oil and other resources out of Africa and into America and other European countries. He helped further it, because there was no way for Bush to really do it as hard as he really wanted to, because then it would be deemed as being extremely racist for a white man to do it. But if I get a black man to further this agenda, then no one will really suspect anything different.
Okay.
And like you said, it was like, all we saw is, the jokes, and he's playing around with Joe Biden and everything is funny, and he's hanging out with, it's FLOTUS and the Michelle Obama stuff, and everything looking cute and beautiful while he's raping the resources of your mother continent. I mean, this is factual. I think that's the thing is about being critical and being honest. We're not honest with ourselves. The thing is, black people, and this showed, Obama showed that we lack inner honesty with ourselves. And what happens is when someone gives you, like, facts and truth, immediately we get emotional. And we go right into emotionalism. We start getting defensive, trying to defend the man that didn't even defend you. It's like being a part of a relationship that's abusive, where you keep defending the person that's abusing you, and he was abusing black people. It's funny. Even we go to the Freddie Gray incident, where he called black people thugs.
Yeah.
And didn't even go anywhere near any of them. I mean, he's like, go back in your home, go back in your house. This isn't civilized. These are things that he said out of his own mouth. I can't make that up.
Yeah.
A lot of us, I myself wish that he would have came to at least clean up a mess of perception from a lot of us, but no, he didn't care about that. He said and did what he wanted to do. Wow. Yeah, that's the reality.
Yeah.
But my thing is this, does it just stop at him protection, him and his daughters? Is it like, does it go like his whole line is protected from now on since he sold out, he crossed over, like?
Well, his bloodline's connected anyway.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, his bloodline's connected anyway. You don't pick certain people. I mean, they could have threw John Lewis in office if they really wanted to. Mm-hmm. They could have threw Sheila Jackson Lee in office if they really wanted to. They could have threw Cynthia McKinney if they really wanted to. There's several Negroes they could have threw in there if they really wanted to.
Oh, yeah.
They had to throw him in there because of direct connection. I mean, it's funny because if you connect the dots and you go back to the 1915s and 20s and you go to Teddy Roosevelt and then you go into FDR, which is Franklin Roosevelt, all these different presidents are all related. The fact that no one catches up to that is amazing. You have certain people specifically that was already putting out this information from Barack and the Clintons, that they have a certain specific bloodline that also ties them to the Bushes as well as the Fords. Mm-hmm. Because the Fords at one point tried to get into politics as well, but then that would be too obvious of elites trying to come in and take over, as well as the Rockefellers tried to come in with Nelson Rockefeller in the 1960s. He was going to be, this is side information, but it's still connected. He himself was going to be a president until it was a sex scandal that came in, and that's what allowed John F. Kennedy to take office. So all this, and even he himself was still blood connected, even being an Irishman. But all of these different people, all these different presidents, all the way up until Barack Obama, is still blood connected. And then you go into Trump to this day. Trump has a connection to America through his connection with the Second Reich of his grandfather, who was involved in a lot of the exterminations of the Africans on Shark Island, as well as the Jews. So even Trump himself has bloodlines to certain elitism. And it's other information I've been trying to put together for a long time to explain why Trump is there as opposed to what people wanted, which was the Hillary situation. It was still going to be bloodline regardless, but there's a deeper meaning to why Trump is in office right now. But this whole Obama thing, it's once you're in, you're in. Your family is forever connected unless he would have went against policy. Like, let's say, for example, Dr. King went against policy when he went against the war, in Vietnam, and he got eliminated.
Yes.
So that's as well as John F. Kennedy. John F. Kennedy went against their policy in Cuba as well as the CIA as well as Vietnam. That was like 3 strikes.
Oh.
So, so that's all this. As long as you follow the policy that they set already in place, you're protected. Obama was protected. He followed the policy to a T, even further than what Bush did. Especially with taking the resources out of Africa as far as he did in setting the bases of AFRICOM into Africa as deep as he was able to do so. He exceeded the expectations of just, not only was he just a Negro, but he was a very important Negro of being able to make those connections to those bases in Africa for AFRICOM purposes. Like little things like, let's say, for example, 2 years, I think maybe it was 2 years ago, 3 years ago, was the girls of Nigeria being kidnapped, and these are all, I realize that a lot of these extremist African groups are CIA funded and trained.
Yes.
A lot of us don't understand that. Like, we think these just random Africans going crazy, like the whole Joseph Kony thing, which was like literally 30 years prior, but they knew that most Americans didn't know too much about him, and they just threw him out there as propaganda pieces. You know, even stuff with Idi Amin. Idi Amin was he was trained by America and the British, and then he turned on them, and they went after him with the propaganda pieces as well. You know, so that's the thing. He's forever connected. You know, just because you stop being, it's like, you know, look at it. You got former presidents who's still a part of the Senate to this day. You know, Bill Clinton can go in and out of the Trilateral Commission whenever he decides to. You know, you're forever connected to them. It's never I'm in, I serve my time, and I'm out. No, they forever use you. Yeah.
You go against it, and then they kill you.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, okay. Yeah, got it.
It's a blood link.
All right.
Mhm.
That was a great show. Thank you.
Well, no problem. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else want to say anything?
I mean, yeah. Anybody else have any questions?
No.
Okay. I guess that's it for this week.
Okay.
Yeah, I enjoyed you as always.
Yeah, it was great. I thought she was going to be live on Facebook, and then I was just like, oh, my God. I was talking to my husband. I was like, I'm missing the show. And then I was like, oh, wait. Then idiot me. I was like, let me call. I forgot he was on the call.
Mhm. Yeah, I decided to just do it like this for right now. Since Facebook Live has gone bonkers for the last month or so, everything has gotten kind of goofy. So I think just let that die out for right now before I jump on like that, because it's becoming like just corrupted. Where, you know, I understand. I use things for what they are as opposed to just saying, oh, they're evil, they're bad. I know they are. I know it's collecting data, but at the same time, I'm just going to use it for what I need to use it for.
Yeah.
But a lot of people have used it for other purposes, and it's terrible. Sorry, y'all. But yeah, I'm probably going to go back and do it Facebook Live again, probably another 2 weeks from now. So I noticed more people was able to pay attention when I did Facebook Live.
Yeah, I think you get more people coming in with the Facebook Live, because I guess they use their phones and they can just watch it. And then you know what the only thing I like about Facebook Live is that if I miss the first 20 minutes, 30 minutes of your show, I can always go back to it and, you know, read, you know, hear everything else that I missed. That's the only thing, the pros with the Facebook Live.
Well, you can go back on here too. You just got to get the number. Yeah, it's a playback number for this one too.
Oh, okay, cool then. All right.
I'll just post it, and you can. I'm gonna post on my page after we get off of here, and you can actually get it, so you can go back and like rewind to certain parts as well too. So.
Oh, okay, cool. All right, thank you.
Definitely not, no problem.
Okay, let me go now. I got a little one who's late past bedtime. Okay.
All right.
Bye.
No problem. All right. So just want to say peace to everybody for getting on. Again, thanks a lot. And peace. Black Power, Hotep, and Wadu.